I'm with Quentin Brichet of EMG, the Children of MacGyver, and it is a pleasure to meet you in person finally.
Yeah, for me too.
This is the first time that it's been unveiled to the public.
It is.
That big round thing back there. We met Rick today. You've been working on this for 12 years.
Yeah, 13.
13 years. I stand corrected. What is this like today? Are you numb? Is it chaos? Is the sense of accomplishment caught up to you? I know you've had private unveilings, but this is on another level.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of everything, you know. I am definitely numb for working for like 2 months on this, preparing for this. But slowly it's coming to me that we did it. It's here. It's nice. People are happy with it. So I'm pretty happy myself with everything. So,
what was the hardest part of pulling this thing off?
You mean the whole Stargate thing, or just this event?
Not just this event, but getting this to life. Was it COVID? Was it materials? Was it cost? What really almost pounded you to dust?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing is to be able to keep up. You know, that there is a time you are always asking yourself, is that the time I stop? Will I stop there now? Is that enough, or should I continue, keep it going, and go to the end of this? You know, so this part is hard because you really have to keep up and to find reason to do it. And I think for me, what helps to say yes or no is really, are there people working with me that are still there, still motivated to do it? And if there are, it means I have a bit less things to do. So it's still doable, you know. But I think my level of doable is way higher than other people.
Well, not everyone can create that. And also at the same time, we're talking 150 people over 12, 13 years?
A bit more than 100, maybe not 150,
yeah.
But yeah.
But I can't fathom what that would take. And, you know, the perseverance, not willing to give up, the indomitable spirit, just pushing and pushing to make it happen. I'm not going to belabor the point. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for allowing us to experience this with you. Can we get a tour?
Yeah, of course. I'll be happy to.
All right. So we're going to start at the gate, and we're going to work our way down through the whole thing that they have here. So stick around because we've got a few surprises for you.
So this is the gate. This is the most perfect replica we know of in the world for now. That was our goal. We are very happy to be as close as this because we were able to, you know, make a real copy directly on a real section from the real Stargate from the SGC. And it's 6 meters in diameter, very big. We really spent a lot of time of seeing it flat on the floor because there was a lot of work to go.
6 meters exactly in diameter?
Not
22 feet, right?
20 feet.
20 feet. Okay. In actuality, it is 20 feet.
Yeah, in the series they say 22.
But it's actually 20 feet exactly.
It's exactly. Yeah,
More or
mostly.
Yeah. Okay. And my understanding is it spins 13 degrees a second.
Yeah, that's it.
Under normal conditions.
Yeah, exactly. And we are working on this, you know. It's not spinning right now, but we are almost ready to make it spin.
Yeah.
I mean, we have all the elements Some of them we have to get them, but we know what we need exactly, and yeah, we just need time. That's it. With time, it will spin. So here you can see we even made the ramp. It's really based on the real one. There still is a few details that we have to work on that are not accurate. For example, here there are 2 pipes that are going down. It should be the same here. That was just a small mistake from the people making this. We had to really measure it, calculate everything. And to do this, actually, we had to use a box of tissue. Because in the series, when you need a close-up with some reference to it, well, first episode, Daniel is sending back the box of tissue for O'Neill, and it's just put there on the grate. And if you measure it, you take the measurement from the box, you can know exactly what kind of grates they used to make the ramp, which means from there you can start to count how many elements there are. You know, you have like 800 of them or something, so you can know exactly where the sides are starting and ending, what is the size of the ladder and everything. So it's all based on a box of tissue.
Now, you told me that you guys built in flaws into the design that were carried over from the original.
Yeah, exactly.
To make a truly artisan level replica, you were keeping everything intact. And you said when we last spoke over the Zoom chat that you weren't going to show me any of those details. Is there anything here that you have kept intact from the original that was not it wouldn't have been on a real Stargate, but it is on the prop that you could share with us?
Let's see. Let me just watch if we can see it from there. Maybe here. Maybe that's too hard to see, but there are some scratches just there that are there. I think like some weathering, you know, just here, all the way here.
And that was in the original.
That was on the original, and it's definitely voluntary. You know, they didn't do it; they did it on purpose. But there are a few things that are just there that you see, and that are not always mistake, but sometimes it's just not precise. You know. For example, that's the example I wanted to tell you about when we last spoke. It's the glyph of the Earth, actually.
Earth?
A lot of people are remaking this glyph, just making one half and doing a mirror of it, because it makes sense.
It's not symmetrical.
It's not symmetrical, absolutely not.
The glyph itself.
Yeah, the glyph itself, and it's in your face, and you don't see it because you don't pay attention. But yeah, and a lot of people just are just drawing it like straight, you know, the base. But actually, it's just slightly open like that, and the angle there is not the same as the one here on the feet, you know. So that's funny, and we kept that because. You don't see it, but you feel it.
You feel it.
If you see it, you can know for sure. Okay, there is something strange about this. I don't know what, but there is something, and I have to keep searching for what's different. You know, so that's one of it. And there was a bit of mistake on the top of it.
Pyramid.
Yeah, of the pyramid on the inside. When they went with the router, I think they just went like a bit on the side. So if you are watching closely there, it's going not that straight. And we didn't keep that one.
Okay. You drew a line.
Yeah, we always drew a line. I see what you did there.
So one of the things that you were pointing out was that you created a section of this,
Yeah,
and then you got to acquire an original
yeah,
that you were wrestling with. Do we quit and just go ahead and use the exact one so that it's
Yeah.
precisely real? How do you feel about that now?
I feel totally okay. I mean, it was more a question for the team. I needed to be sure everyone was happy with the decision, because if we chose that and people were like, "Oh no, again," I couldn't go forward with it, you know. So I really needed people to be happy that we spent time discussing it, and with this choice. But yeah, we had fun building it, trying to get every detail precisely, and we really wanted to compare, you know, because once you have the real one in your hand, you can say, okay, all these parts is perfect. Okay, I thought it was like that, but it's like this, and it's really interesting. So
What's happening? Uh-oh. Are there any thoughts at making the 12 o'clock chevron snap down and back up?
oh yeah, absolutely. The same way we want to make it spin, we also want the main chevron to be able to lock itself, and we are working on it. We already know how much it's going up and how much it's going down, because actually I never thought about it before, but the crystal of the chevron is going up while the big V part, the real chevron, is going down. So actually it's not going like this, but like that.
Right.
And you really have to pay attention to see it. And it's not the same. It's not the same measurement between both of them. So we can't use the same mechanism for both of them, because we could, and it will go like this, but actually it go like that.
That's exactly right.
So
Yeah. And are you going to make the piece underneath the chevron flex like it did in the show, or is that going to stay the same?
no,
It was so obvious to me, but other people, it's like, oh yeah, I didn't notice that before.
you know what? I think you'll have to see for yourself, because we won't try to replicate it. But as most of what we did, we ended up doing the same thing that the crew who built it. So
Created.
maybe it will happen, and it will be out of our hands, you know. And if it happens, maybe we will keep it.
Okay.
I love to present the back of the gate, because I feel like the same way we were speaking about the side, with all those details, there are actually more than 800, I think, on this. I really like to think that we don't see it that much in the series. And most of the time in series and movies, they only build what is seen by the camera, you know. And for this, because they knew they had like 3 seasons, that's right, to begin with, they really built the whole thing, saying, I want something that is credible, so we have to build the whole thing from every angle possible. And that's really interesting to see that they went for it. Maybe it's also because in the movie they did it, so they had the parts to do it. So maybe it was quicker to also to do it. And we only see a few shots of this part, and it's actually very intricate, a lot of different details, and we can see that, for example, when it was designed, they choose to put the chevrons back in the design itself. You can see that this part is actually the same as this one, you know, not exactly, but it represents the same thing.
It's echoing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the design is beautiful made. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do this one, because Yeah, I was in a moment in time from my life. I was like, I want to do something big. Oh, this seems nice, and yeah, really looking at the props and the sets of different series, movies. I was drawn to this. I really always like the behind the scenes of the technical parts, how they did it, the makeup and everything. But it's like it's a prop, but also it's a set, and there is not a lot of of things that were built for movies and series that are that kind, between prop and yeah, it is, and all the details. I mean, when I started, a lot of a lot of details I really didn't know how they were drawn, what they were. I had just that in mind. It's a circle, more circle inside it. It's spinning, some symbols in front, and that's it. You start from there, and you're like, okay, but how is this drawn? How many are there? Oh, that's interesting because here the bevel is not at 45 degrees, but it's actually rounded.
Yeah, if you look really closely on each of the segments, you see where they have to kind of cheat in terms of the designs. I mean, like, you see here, this is where the scenes are.
Yeah, exactly.
They have to. A circle is very hard to create inorganically.
Yeah.
You know? So there's only so much you can do to pull it off, and there are going to be things that you're just going to have to kind of fake.
Yeah.
Because it's fake. It's not real. So it's there to sell an illusion and make the story possible.
Exactly. And that's something that's really important for me, is that people are feeling like it's really there, it's massive, and it's real, you know? Not that you can go on another planet with it, but that you feel that maybe it's a machine, you know? Maybe it will do something, and when it spins, it does, actually. But I really didn't want just people to feel like we just brought to you a set. We actually brought to you something, a thing that you can feel, and that's the idea. So that's why it's important for me to have the sound, the light, and everything. That it helps a lot, I think. To feel
we
it.
all have, those of us who love it, we have a visceral reaction when we see it, when we experience it.
Yeah.
Like when I first came in, I didn't want to look at it.
Yeah, I saw
And
that.
I was like, once I opened that package from under the Christmas tree, that's it.
Yeah, you can do it again.
And it was really bizarre. It took me about an hour to work my way over to, okay, I will acknowledge you now. So, but isn't that weird? But it made sense to me. So
Yeah.
I had to wait for the right moment. So
I know when you unwrap the gift and there are people like going like, oh yeah, nice, and there are people like,
next? No, there is no next. This is it.
maybe.
That's it.
So yeah, I think
Wow. Yeah, the back is beautiful. You're right. It doesn't nearly get enough attention.
it's funny in universe
Yes.
they are actually lighting up the chevrons from behind, which never happens in the series. So I never knew if they were thinking that people were thinking that behind it was lighting up, or if just a choice to change things, you know. But I always felt like that's normal that only the front is lighting up. But
There were
maybe
certain design improvements, and then there were others that just
yeah,
were let's try it this way, and okay, like going from the gear to the chain.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
certain
exactly.
technologies evolve after 14, 13 years.
Yeah, just the LEDs.
Yes.
That's a good improvement because they started with halogen lamps, and you can see on the original parts they are made of resin, and there are actually a lot of bubbles in them because
burn.
they burned, and they lost their color actually. So on the side that there is the light, it's like more like yellow, and on the parts that never touch the lights, actually, it's like more like an orange, red, exactly like there. When we had to decide, should we keep the orangish color?
What season are you doing? Yeah.
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 So we decided to go for the start.
Everything is a compromise.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And we are always happy with the choice. It's a choice, but at the end, it doesn't really matter, you know. But you want to be accurate, so it can be one or the other, not the in between. You know?
It's funny that we're doing this now because just over here is the man himself. So, Richard Anderson is signing autographs, and you had sort of a moment with him earlier today. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, exactly. It was very quick. Yeah,
but it happened.
it happened. I'm happy that it happened. I didn't like that. I didn't like that part.
What you not like?
I love to be able to be with him. I'm really happy that we have nice pictures with him. It means a lot, and the team is very happy. It was so stressful and so quick that I felt like, we should have done this like this or like that. So yeah, you know, we spent a lot of time in the cave working on this, and we are just now going out. So we have a lot of figuring out and how to manage the actors coming on the set. I think we will have to figure this out for ourselves too.
Did he make any comments about the Stargate?
Yeah, I said mind the steps, and I was like, oh, but you know it, you know,
That's
you know,
right.
but you know those, you know, and he was like, yeah, it's pretty close to the real thing. So about this part, because we had a small talk with Richard Hudelin earlier, and it was really quick, but we had the opportunity to share a few things. And one thing that we learned from him is that when they brought the set in the studios, they actually had the ramp going all the way to the floor, which actually makes sense because they have to send the malt
Robots.
and the thread, and actually they saw that with the camera they were not able to catch when people were going all the way down the ramp. So they actually had to chop it down on site with the small time they had before they started to shot. So that's fine.
And also, your Stargate is arguably the more complete because all 9 chevrons light.
Yeah.
Whereas none of the Stargates ever manufactured had 9 working chevrons.
They didn't?
Not underneath. Not with lights.
There was no lights under this?
Well, okay, no, Destiny, okay, yes. Is that what
Yeah.
that was this one? SG1,
Okay.
they had the chevrons weren't completed. If you go back and you look at Mobius,
Yeah.
you can see them exposed.
Oh yeah, because they removed actually the panels around the motor,
That's right.
and they never placed them again because it was not necessary because they never shot that part. So yeah, it's more complete because it's not chopped down here, and actually we will keep it that way even with the motor inside. We were able to figure it out. So the motor is like that size.
That will make it spin.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty small, and we were able to find a place where to put it inside the structure that's inside the gate. So we won't have to make holes in the panels. So it will still be the most complete Stargate in the world. The inside is narrower than the outside, and a lot of people when they try to replicate the gate, they think it's like a rectangle. You know, it's the same size on the inside, the same size in the inside than in the outside. But actually, it's more like a triangle from the inside. It's actually just 4 or 5 centimeter wide here, And on the outside, it's like 40 centimeter wide, something like that.
Did you figure this all out at the CAD development level on the computer, or did you have to
No.
physically create some of these pieces before you started determining that?
Hmm.
I would think it would be a little bit of trial and error one way or the other.
We didn't go the way you think we did.
Okay.
We didn't plan this to do it like you will do it for a set. If you create a set, you will be like, okay, what's the design? I draw it. Then maybe I do it with computer, 3D. Today you will do that. Then you send it to the workshop. The workshop is figuring out, okay, how can we do it? They make their blueprints, annotated, modified, and then they build it. And then you still have small other blueprints for details. And you build it and you finish it. What we did is we figured it out on the way. So we actually never did a CAD before we needed it for other things. You don't need a CAD to reproduce a Stargate if you have the whole section, physically. You just have to make a copy of it, also physically with silicon molds and everything. So actually, we finished the gate before we made a CAD file with it.
Wow.
Yeah. And
That feels totally backwards, but
yeah,
I mean, if that's
it does.
if that's the process that
Because it,
got your goal
yeah,
the quickest, then there
Exactly.
you go. Otherwise, you're just a madman.
if you don't
I'll
need
do
it,
this
you
later.
don't need it. Exactly.
And I'm
the-
not completely convinced that you're not totally not mad. So,
We are all
That's it.
mad down there.
that's it.
Yeah, and actually the most accurate CAD file that exists in the world is the one from Bertrand, who made the small-scaled Stargate, who is also a member from the EMG and started from the beginning with me, before even the association existed. So he did an incredible job, and I'm really happy that I talked him into coming here today, because now we can see the small gate with the big gate, and that's really something. Because
Please tell me you got some photos of the two of them.
yeah, of
across the
course,
room.
of course, of
Yeah,
course.
for
Some
sure.
videos and photos. He has a videos. You can see it on the Replicas, Instagram, and everything. He starts from his gate, and then he moves, and it reveals the gate behind it. You know?
Because they're the same.
That's yeah. That's really good. Even the keep clear sign on the floor. We were not sure about the color.
Because of the lighting,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Print something and put it in another environment, but when you see it on the screen,
exactly.
it's always under a specific studio lighting. It
Yeah,
doesn't mean when you print it, it's going to be exactly what it was and function in different lighting.
you have no way to know, because even if you work on the white balance, there are still spotlights with colors, so it's not possible. Actually, the best picture we have is someone going on the set for a tour,
Yep,
because they didn't put the spotlights on at that time.
that's right.
So that's the best sources we can have. And we searched for years and years and years about that to get some close-ups, the real color and everything. So it takes time.
Could you have done this without the online fan base helping out here and there?
Not like this.
It would have taken twice as long.
I don't think in terms of time, but in terms of accuracy, in terms of time, I think we would have taken the same time, but it will be less accurate. Yeah. Of course. Because there is a moment you have to say, okay, we don't have what's needed for this. We have to do it now, so it doesn't matter. We will do it anyway. And it will be nice, people will be happy with it, but maybe it's not exactly the same. So let's go. And then 2 weeks later, it's always like that. 2 weeks later, you have someone calling you and saying, I have something for you. Yeah, look at this. And you're like, okay, yeah. So I finished it, and now you show me that it's not accurate enough.
So I heard there were a couple instances of you, maybe more than a couple, in this project. I'm like, nope, do it again.
Ah, yeah, of course, of course. Yeah.
It's not right. It's 99.9% there. That is not the same.
Yeah,
At what point do you leave well enough alone? At what point is perfection the true enemy of completion?
There is an answer to this.
Let me ask it to you this way. I don't need an example necessarily, but yes, like, oh yeah, that's happened. A situation where you were able to listen to someone else's perspective and say, okay, I will back off of this.
Yeah.
This is where it's at. This is good enough. This other thing over here will be sunk cost fallacy. It'll take too much work and be too much for what? For a little tweak of a difference.
Yeah.
That only I will know about. Were there instances like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I think it's when you look at it and you feel the same than when you look at the real thing. That's it. I just need that. Not exactly, because you can be pretty not accurate and feel the same thing. So I still need a bit of work on this. But when you are working on it, for example, the paint, it really happened on the paint. We were in 2022, in Flumet. First time we put it up, and we had like 1 week to finish, and at the end we had like 1 night to do the whole paint job. Really 1 night. Like we were assembling it on site while they were painting it another place at the same time. So, and they were like, okay, Quentin, come and see. Is that okay for you? And I was like, no. And
try again.
Yeah, no, try again. And actually, yeah, they were crying,
Of course. It's devastating.
Yeah, no, but not because of that. The part when it happened, it was actually Roxanne who made the whole paint job with a few other people, and it's amazing. It's really accurate. And she was like, "Oh, I made a mistake. Look, I did this stroke of paint, and it's really not okay." I was like, "I love it. I love it. I want more of this."
Yeah.
Because the whole idea of a paint job like that is like you need to have mistakes. You can go with the brush and go all the way the same way, always the same stroke and everything.
About the paint, or are you talking about like
uh,
the scratches on top of this here? Because it's existed underneath underneath the earth for so very long,
Yeah.
And I get what you're saying about you have to feel that it's right, because you don't want to look at it and think that it's fraudulent.
Yeah.
That it's not complete.
Yeah.
Like you have to find the balance to make it work. So
Yeah. It's just you have to feel like it's natural, because in the series it's some kind of alien metal.
that's right.
And if you just copy and paste the effects, if I had exactly the same thing here and there, no one will believe about this. They will be like, okay, they just put a picture here and here, it's a set and everything. But we really want to be able to show that it's natural and not by design. We don't design metal; it just exists. Then we work with it.
Man, very cool.
To bring this here, what took the most time, we were actually ready to just build the ring itself, but what took 2 months before we came here was to design and plan all the experience, because we didn't have that. We are just working in the workshop to put it up, to test it, and get a few friends to come. That's okay, that's easy. But then you have to think, okay, we will have that much people, and maybe more. What will happen now? Will be maybe they will be happy to have some cosplay to go with. Maybe. So you have to design everything and plan everything, because
Have you been pleased with the turnout, the lines?
Yeah, the line is always full. We have to close it for to have breakfast and everything, but there are always people waiting for it, and they are pretty happy because they manage the team to be able to go all the way through it in like 13 minutes, half an hour, which is pretty quick. Yeah, and
Than a Disneyland attraction.
yeah, and I think people are pretty happy with it. A lot of people are like, I could have waited more, but I'm happy that it goes really quickly. And some people are coming back, actually. So
More.
yeah, it's we're here very happy with that. So
I've never seen this color. It's really beautiful. Very nice.
a few things we did. I was talking to you about the glyph of the earth there. So you have to know, we work a lot on this. So we didn't draw it, but here there is a small mistake on the real one. And you can see that it's really not the same angle here and there. It's wider here. So there are always a lot of differences. You can also see that that's the center of every glyph panel. And it's not centered at all.
Wow.
And we also reproduced every line, so these are exactly the same than in the series. So this folder was made by Metz France too.
Wow.
And yeah, we started to work like that.
Pencil sketches.
A lot of line everywhere, but to be able to reproduce them on the picture, because you have to mind that it's not the camera is not in front of the glyph, it's on the side, and sometimes you have a lens that is deforming the design, so you have to retrace line.
Like this.
Do it. Yeah, exactly. We did the same for Atlantis too, and we were able to reproduce what we call in the community the
Constellation names.
No, I mean the part that is behind it.
Okay.
Where is it? People could help me with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have a matrix behind it.
Okay.
And
Little marching ants.
exactly
These little patterns.
everything here, because in the series they were able to display any glyph anywhere on the gates.
That's right.
And
So they had to be able to light
to light
every position.
yeah. So you have to have like a matrix behind it with all the LEDs, and they did it at the time. We didn't have Arduinos and all of that things that are making this easy. So I'm really amazed by what they were able to do. So yeah, this is the first presentation we did in 2016.
Is this the pitch that went to the actors when they?
Yes, some of them. Yeah, exactly. You can see picture of the actors with actually this file, and that's the
Giant
part we
Mountain.
did.
That's the one at Stargate Worlds.
No,
It's
that's ours.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Sure, looks like it. Okay.
It's in a museum in Belgium.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
You can see the molds and the size of it.
I took those.
Yeah,
Look at these.
you know where they are coming from, right? These
Oh,
pictures.
very much so. Yeah. Yeah, Santa Ana, California. Very nice.
So and we were able to get the original blueprints,
Yep.
which Udolin said I never wanted to make new blueprints for the series. I really wanted to be able to take back the one from the movie. So we are always asking ourselves, okay, is that from the movie or the series? Like, it's actually from the series because they wanted to be as close as possible to the original, and it's pretty funny that we are doing the same thing. You know, we are really walking in their steps. So
You also, it makes some sense because you'll also arrive at the same conclusions
Yeah,
Approaching the same problem.
exactly. We were talking about the lights and how when it's lighting off, you can see it like it's dark, it's black, you know. And we said, okay, we try to find something in the world that is working like that. What is working like that? And we were thinking about car lights actually, because in tuning they are always putting a smoky clear coat on them. So when it lights off, it's dark, and when it's lights on, it's white, yellow, and orange. So
It's like a sunset.
yeah, so we thought about that, and Fridolin said actually we did it basing ourselves on traffic lights because it's the same thing. When they light up, they are colored, and when they light off, they are dark. And so it's pretty funny to compare. I have to show you the main thing, you know. So
This looks familiar.
this is, we already saw that, but a few minutes earlier. So this is actually an original part of the SGC gate. When the series ended, when they ended the franchise, everything was sold to people wanting to have it. And the one from the SGC was sold by combining all the parts from one section. So there are 9 sections of a gate that's cut between the chevrons. And yeah, so it means there is only 9 things like that in the world, you know, the one from the SGC. And here you can see not mistakes, but how it's living its life through a professional set, you know. You always have to add something. You have 1 minute to do it. So what do? Okay, I take a screw and I screw it directly in the set, and you can see all the screw holes in it, just to be able to, yeah, to put it in place or to add something for a while.
I was looking at these. When I sold this, I don't remember these being there.
No, those are not the same screws they used, because if you just put some screws in it, in the holes like this, just the screw, you can screw it too tight and it goes all the way through, because it's made of resin fiberglass, so it's pretty fragile. So we added washers behind it. And it's not painted. We didn't paint the screws, but on the real set they painted the screws. But you can see it everywhere. If you look at the credits, in the credits you can see all the screws on the Stargate. So that was something we wanted to make really nicely on the one we made. So all the screws on our version, they are all hidden in the design itself. So we really preferred to put it in part of the design that makes sense, you know. This is round, this is a bit hidden, we put a screw in it, you know. But we don't want to put it everywhere. And we actually changed a lot of things because we had to be able to take it apart and build it back really quickly. So for example, in the series, all the chevrons, they just put screw through them. And as they are pretty fragile, we thought it was not that much of a good idea. So maybe I can show you back later if you want, but we added magnets behind them. So if we want to build it, we assemble it, then we take the chevrons and we just put it there. And just to be sure, we put a small wire here, which means if by mistake they are coming down, they don't get on the head of the people who are just down.
Did you pull this apart at all in order to get more details or figure it out, or have you largely left it alone?
We didn't have to put it apart because it was already apart when we received it, you know. It was sent with a lot of foam and cardboard and plastic wrap, but every piece was by itself, you know. And we had to figure out the puzzle, you know. We had to rebuild it. But you can just say, okay, this one is going there, this one goes in there. You have to think, okay, what's the exact angle here? So you have to watch a lot of pictures of the series. You have to figure out what's the, how much space there is between this part and this one. and you are always thinking about it, you know. So for a few things there is a logic, and a few other you just have to figure it out. For example, the wings, you have to place them so it goes the same way than the ring that is behind, you know.
You mean these here?
No, I mean the wings.
The wings.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you
Yeah,
said
you know. Okay. It's rounded the same than the part that is behind it.
Right.
And I was talking about the paint job here, so you can see they use like brushes and some. They stamped a few. Sometimes you can see like the mark of a thumb somewhere.
Wow.
So yeah, you can see a lot of that everywhere. And I was talking about the the lines. And what's actually funny is that the curve of the lines here, it's the same than the curve here. And we were thinking, all right, there is a few possibilities why this happened. Maybe they just took like one of this panel, put it on the other, and just trace it. It's easy, it works. Or maybe when Patrick Tatopoulos designed the gate, maybe he took his tool to make the circle, and then keep it that way, and just draw some lines, you know. It's the same on the blueprints, not exactly the same lines, but it's the same logic between both of them.
So they didn't drive themselves nuts getting it exactly right by starting from square one.
No.
They made it work section by section.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's something that is the that's funny. As we want to be able to travel with it, we can't have elements that are protruding from
right.
it, you know. So we had to cut it by 4 glyphs and one panel with 3 glyphs, you know. And what they had was panels with 5 glyphs and one panel with 4, and we couldn't do that. So we just cut it there. Okay, that's easy, you know. But the hard part is when you go from a panel to another, the line stops to be following each other, you know. It starts again from another
It
design.
has to connect to something like a Lego set.
Yeah. And this line will never go on the next one. They just did one by one without thinking about the continuity, you know. And as we had to cut it there, so we had to have the continuity between them, which means when I design 4 of them and I put one on the side, I have to put both side to side and then trace the line on it to be able to have the continuity.
Because underneath it's the same piece of metal.
Yeah, exactly. And what's funny is that we discovered when we got it that they put some hooks on behind of it, on the back, you know. You can see them here. So yeah, you have these small hooks here, and we spent a bit of time thinking about why they did it, and what we think about is maybe it was used to put a screen, because not the green screen, because you know that the whole wall behind the gate is rolling on the side, and behind it you have just one giant green screen. So they didn't really need a green screen. But on the latter season, I think the event horizon was made by projecting a video directly on the screen. So maybe that's it. And also, maybe that's for the iris, because the iris, the movement of the iris, it was made using CGI. But the iris itself, when it's closed, it's physical. You know, it's a real thing. It's a round that's something like 4.7 meter, I think. It's a giant ring like that, and just put it there. So maybe it was also a way to get there. Yeah, to get there. And yeah, to show you quickly the process. So we start from searching for material sources. So we have to
we already spoke of this, right? So
Yeah,
this was the original that you guys developed. Is that correct?
exactly. That's the one where we try to reproduce that we can compare with the other one. A few of those are the originals. So this is the original crystal, and as I was saying, some parts are yellowish, burned from the light,
Yep.
and some parts are more orange and red. And we decided to keep this part. And it's a bit different in the design because for it they put a transparent paint on it that is orange. And actually what we did, we tainted the resin, so we are sure that the color won't come off from the parts, you know. And we managed to know that this part is actually the part of the chevron that is just behind the main chevron that's moving. We can know about this because
Well, this was the top.
it's the top
It's the
one,
clock
you know,
chevron.
but it was behind it. And we know that because it's number one. And we also know that because it's shorter here, you know. And why is it shorter? It's because
Room.
the mechanics are here, you know.
Wow. Wow.
And this one is also an original.
I think this is the one I sold as well, by,
Yeah.
by its own self, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just to mold the back pieces.
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first one we used. I was happy to buy it because it was a way to know. We started with a good measurement of everything, and then we tried to make the other elements, you know.
Okay.
And I were never able to understand where it comes from because it's the tenths of this, and there are only 9 sections. So maybe,
Placed one at some point.
yeah, I'm pretty sure
Had a
they
spare,
had to.
you know?
Yeah. I think it's not a spare, it's what a bit broken everywhere, so there is a life of itself, but
Yep.
I don't know. But yeah, of course, it's a spare one or they replaced one at some time. So we decided to mold it directly on the real ones for some parts. For example, this one, because we were able to manage to repair a lot of the holes that were in it because of the screws, because of the bubbles when they made it. And it was okay. We felt like we didn't, change it too much because this is history, you know, and you can just cut it down in parts, you know. So we really wanted to respect that. So we were able to do it. But for some other elements, for example, this one, it's really too, it's too broken, you know. You can just repair that, or you would have to put a really ton of bando on it and go with a file and go for it. And that's not, I feel like it's not okay. So
Yeah.
we were able to scan it using a 3D scanner, and we did it again and build it from scratch, but based on this. Or we took some parts of the real one and put it back together like this one, you know. We were able to see that, okay, these parts are okay, there are sound, so we just replicated some part of it, put them close to each other, and then we were able to make the same part. What's interesting is that this part, it's the front of the gate, you know. This part is the same as this one on the back. Exactly the same. So once you have your master, we call it the master. You make a mold on it, you know. So you have to figure out how to be able to take it out of the mold. So that can be a puzzle. So for example, that's the big chevron part. It has to be
These are all
transparent.
originals that you fabricated.
No, those one are the one we made.
Yeah,
You know,
these were you made these, yes.
yeah, we made
Yeah.
those. Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, I had some originals in my hand, and they are made of wood, put together really quickly, a bit of resin silicone. So because they only had when we spoke.
Late 1996, they had a matter of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. We were told by Hudolin that they worked like for 4 months to do the whole set, everything, including the gate, and we did it in 13 years. So we had the time.
Right?
So you can see how we did every mold, and some are very big, and silicone is not cheap to use. So you have to make the part that is taking all the details, but you have also to think about what's behind it. And for example, those parts, they are empty behind. So you have to create the part, the negative part, that will remove this part, you know. And some of them are really intricate. It's really hard to make those. And the paint, that's an example of where you come from. So that's just
It comes out.
yeah, when it comes out, it's like that. You put a bit of black paint, but then you have to scratch it just a bit.
Yeah,
So-
it's been under the earth.
Yeah, you can feel it's not the same exactly. You feel it's
Oh,
different.
absolutely, yeah.
Then you add a bit of black paint. Actually, you can't really see it because it's black on black, but you can feel it because it's not the same tone exactly. Then you go for the silver paint.
Yeah.
Then a bit of paint that is colored. We can see some touches of color that are a bit orange or like a bit of earth used on it. So it's everywhere. And then you go again with the clear coat, and that's it. So
Is that all? It's such a process that you take.
that's a lot, you know. And if
I
you
know.
compare, then that's what we are doing every time. We compare, and we are like, are we close enough
Wow.
to this, you know? And then you're like, I feel we could still be working on it a bit, but yeah, you know, you can see it's pretty close. Actually, we can go on the other side. Right. That's this part.
Yeah.
So if you feel it's part of it, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Then we are close enough.
Wow.
That's what
Keep in mind, this lighting is not the best lighting for
Yeah.
you know, for our purposes here. But yeah.
And then you have to, you know, pour the resin in, and you have two ways to do that. One is going layer by layer. You know, you put some resin, then fiberglass, then resin, then fiberglass, and the other way is just to pour it in the mold. And you have to make mistakes before you are able to do it greatly. For example, this one, there are way too much bubbles.
Whoa.
You know, so we tried a few things using paint on it because it was already you know, unusable. And you have to try different tints of resin, you know, to find the right orange. And then you have to find the right percentage because it's not this. You put like 4 drops for this part, but only 2 drops for the chevron part because it's thinner, you know, so it should be more vivid.
So you are feeling your way
Exactly.
through this
Yeah,
entire
yeah.
process.
You have to figure this out. Yeah. And you are always thinking, oh, how did I do it from the start? You know, for example, this part that is between the glyphs, I was like, okay, it looks like tracks, you know. So did they use something that was already existing and cut it down or not? And actually, you can be pretty close with tracks that are used for a piece of glass that are sliding in it.
Sliding glass window.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not this because we were never able to find something that's that close to the measurements, you know. So maybe it is, or maybe not. We will never know.
It's similar. Just like the clamps on the gates at SGC were made out of mop strainers.
Yeah, my friend, yes.
Oh.
So mainly that's it, and now we have to work our way to create more things, to work on the rotation. So as I was saying, We already know where the motor is going with the wheel. We designed it completely, so we just have to cut it now. So that's where the chain is going,
Wow.
which is closer to the Stargate Universe design of the gate. And yeah, so we have everything. We just need time for this.
It's time. What are you thinking? What are you hoping for in terms of getting a spinning Stargate?
What I'm hoping for?
Yeah. 2028, 2029.
Ah, okay, yeah. Schedule. I'm pretty sure next year it's okay. Yeah, I'm sure.
27.
Yeah. I think at the end of 27 maybe. But yeah, sure, of course.
Wow. That's a replica of the SGC logo, yes?
Yeah, of course. I didn't speak about it.
This is not
We did a few other things, yeah, around Stargate, but also around other franchises. But yeah, we replicated it. We were able to get the original blueprints, so we draw it on computer, and then from there we compared it with the series. But that's how close we want to be. We just don't stop at the design itself. We know that people, when they build something, it can move a bit. So we always compare with the real thing at the end. We had to compare the color of the light and the color of the paint, because actually a lot of the paint, I didn't say that for the gate also. We think the gate is a bit bluish, right? In the mind of a lot of fans, the gate is a bit bluish, but it's actually absolutely not. It's black.
It's not just a black or a gray. It's got some blue in it.
No. You would think there is some blue in it,
Okay, but it
but
doesn't.
it's because of the spotlights. You know, if you see it right now, there is a bit of blue spotlight on it.
Yep.
So you feel like it's a bit bluish, but it's not. It's just the same way it's black. And that's the same for the SGC logo. You feel it's a bit blue, it's just dark, and you have a bit of blue gels in front of the light.
That's how they pulled it off. This is extraordinary work. I am still blown away by you. I don't know how you do it. I don't know what planet you're from, not from this one. Your commitment to this brand and this idea speaks volumes about our community and everything that you've worked to create. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks.
It's just wonderful to be able to see it all fleshed out.
Yeah, that's 13 years in a few
That's it.
meter.
That's it.
I can't thank Quentin and his team enough for that extraordinary walkthrough that we got through their whole process for EMG for creating that Stargate. It's just something extraordinary. My name is David Reed. You're watching the Stargate Oral History Project. If you enjoy Stargate and you want to see more content like this produced on YouTube, please click the like button. It helps us spread the word and get the show out there further. And if there was any part of what you liked of what you saw, or what you saw that you liked, I should say, leave a comment below, because that does help as well. And I cannot get through this without my Patreon members. I've put off asking for people to contribute for the longest time, but I've reached the point now where I'm just, it's gotten to that point, and this was long before the cancellation. So my tremendous thanks to my Patreon subscribers for helping to continue to make the show possible as we move forward with whatever it is that Stargate fans are going to, whatever hand we're going to be dealt with down the road, because we just don't know what's in store. But I can tell you something, we're all in this together, and EMG is not going to stop raising that Stargate. So we're really excited to see where they show up next. This community is so creative in so many ways, and from all walks of life. Justin over at Louisville Slugger somehow found out that I was a casual baseball fan. Very casual. I follow the Diamondbacks. I lived in Phoenix for years, so he made me this. This is a genuine, as it says, genuine David Reed, Stargate's finest Louisville Slugger. This is so cool with the Dial the Gate logo emblazoned on it. This is, I mean, damn, this, there are no words to describe my, well, how thankful I am at how gracious people are. But Stargate fans really are from every walk of life. And we may not have a new show coming out in the next couple of years here, but that doesn't mean we're going anywhere. We're going to stick around and continue to make this one of the best fandoms to be a part of. And I'm just so thankful that you're here with me to make that happen. I could not have done that episode without Maria's help. She rushed and got the subtitles done because I found out that my audio was terrible. Of course, one of these days we will figure out remote audio. I'm working on it, but it's slow going, and I'm just really thankful to Maria. I'm really thankful to Dave Conan for making sure that the audio is going to be processed correctly as well on the back end there. He really helped us out in the editing process as well. That's what we've got for you for this episode. 450. 50 more to go to the big 500. I have no idea what it's going to look like. I don't know what it's going to be, but we're definitely going to do it. And I'm thrilled that you're here with me for it. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate. I appreciate you tuning in for this episode, and I will see you on the other side.
So, the thing that I love about the EMG Stargate, except for the fact that it's a 1-to-1 scale, they've really taken O'Neill to heart. So this goes like this, and because it comes apart and goes back together like a carnival ride so often, what do they do? What did they use? Magnets. Jack would be pleased.